Hey party people, welcome back to MVM, and today I'm here with a preview for Madcala, which is a two-player game. It takes about 30 minutes to play, and this is in the Wonderland's War universe. If you played the area control game, very popular, one of my faves. So when you have a game that's in that universe, pretty dang on interested. And also Mancala mechanics. So Mancala is one of these really old games. I used to play it with the 6th and 7th graders at my school, and during math class was kind of like an extra thing we did to play that kind of killed 10 minutes, chess, checkers, all that stuff. And in that game, you're picking up the pieces and moving them along, and you're dropping them from one little basket, let's say, or pod. Well, there's no different in this one. You're going to be picking up from a pod and placing them as you go, but then there's going to be effects at the pod where you stop at. You may have double the effects because of your pod, but then you'll also have the strategy of using your characters, your guests, and their +1, which are your support abilities, and commoner cards in order to knock out the opponent. And each opponent has 25 points, life points, and whoever knocks out the person first wins the game. So I'm going to go show you just a nice little overview of the game. It doesn't have a ton of rules. The strategy comes from the actual characters in the game, which gives it this wrinkle. So let's go ahead and talk about it. All right. Here you are looking at Madcala. All right, so two-player game, going back and forth, 25 points. You're going to see shards out here, which are the economy of the game. They're used to buy cards. They're used to take actions on cards. And then they're also used to activate things. You have your cupcake side, your cookie side here, and then you have your guests, which are on the far left, and then their +1s to the right of them. They even have their own little setups here for certain characters, +1s in there, and even sometimes the main guest will have them. I also have the other characters here. I believe the caterpillars from the expansion, but then you have the Mad Hatter, you have the Cheshire Cat, White Rabbit, Jabberwock, and they all have their own little tricks in their bag, but I'm not going to go into them too deep. But the Mad Hatter can reset the state of the table. The caterpillar has this piece that goes around here and activates that spot. You have the Cheshire Cat who activates the spot where you're at and changes the outcome. You have the White Rabbit, which I believe stops time and kind of stops it from things from going around in the spots that it blocks off. Haven't played against that one yet. And then Jabberwock, which is a really powerful attack as well. Powerful attacker. You have Alice. Alice has a lot of interesting mechanics that kind of throw you off. You got the dodo bird over here. The dodo bird has this little kind of not shell game, but it's more so like a pick game. And depending on what the result is, they get an attack or possible health or whatnot. The griffin over here can grab the doubler, just to name a few things that are going on. The red queen over here, she uses the commoner cards, and we'll talk about what commoner cards are, but they're basic usable cards that have different abilities that match what's on the pods. But she uses those to attack. She uses them to take out shards. She has like a King of Hearts here. King of Hearts has these tokens you can flip over during the game, and they have different types of benefits. You have the Card Soldier, which will give her cards. And then you have Knave of Hearts, which is like a copycat as well. All right. That's a lot up front, but I wanted to give you an idea of like, hey, what's all this stuff that's laid out here? Otherwise, it's just Mancala. Well, let's go there as well. Each side has its own pod. So on this side is their home pod, and then on that side, this is their home pod. And each one of these other pods is going to be wherever the stuff lands, it's going to take that action. So on your turn, you have to pick up from one of these pods on your side. So let's just say the red player starts first. They would pick up from one of their pods, and they would drop a shard as they go along, and wherever they stop, they would activate that pod. So I'm going to go ahead and go back and just give you an idea what the pods are. You have one here, which is a refresh card. If this card was flipped over and I can refresh it, I would refresh this card. If I needed health, I can get 1 health back. If I go to these, I would cause 2 damage. This one here, I would get 2 shards, which go to my home pod right here. And then we have 2 attacks and 1 health, and then we have one of these commoner cards. And once again, the commoner cards are just kind of extensions of what goes on here with a couple different icons. Some of them can even give you an extra turn. They could take out one of your cards and flip them over. All kinds of stuff that happens in there. But then you have this little wrinkle called the doubler. Okay, this doubler doubles literally where it stops at. So if you have some things over here, let's just say it ended right here, I could double that, it'd be 4. Now this has to be the last piece that you drop when you're picking up pieces. So just to get an idea, you want to make sure you're kind of strategizing what the time is going to be when you use your doubler. So keep that in mind. Now you can't drop in someone else's home, but you can go across it. So let's just say for my first turn, I decided as the pink player, as the cupcakes, to do one of these numbers. I can't put it in their home, so I'll just pick it up and go 1, 2, and that causes an attack on their side. Now I'll take them out, 1, 2, okay, cool. And then that would be my turn. Now, I actually, since this is on my side, I can pick this up and activate stuff over here. So I'm just going to, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. You notice how I dropped that here on this side? There's a reason why I'm doing that. And let me just go ahead and get a card first. One of the options you have on your turn, once you get a card, you can play it, but you can play one of these from your hand. You can have a maximum of 2 in your hand, these common cards, but you want to play them at a certain timing because you want to use the strategy of timing to maybe get your cards flipped over at the right time. But this is one of the options on your turn. You can, outside of your mandatory turn, you can also activate one of these cards as well. Sometimes Alice has something you can activate as well, but you can also just buy one of these cards for 3 shards. Anytime you have to pay for anything that's on here, you just pay from anywhere back to your reserve. If you ever get pieces, you get awarded some. So from these shard spots right here, if you get awarded for them, they go on your home area here. But yeah, that would be me getting a card. Maybe I want to, do something with like the dodo bird, and I want to spin one of these here. So then I spin one of the shards, and when I spin one of the shards, I present these 3 here to my opponent, and my opponent has to pick one of these. So then they do, and I ended up losing health. So I ended up losing health. All right, so then I would flip this thing over. When I flip it over, it tells me whether I get to use it again or not. And then that would be my turn. Now, here's the deal. I can't go get this as the pink player. I can't go over here and grab this. So I have to grab from my side. That's mandatory. So maybe I want to do something like this. Maybe I want to do this. 1, 2, get them back, right? So I'll get them back, and I'll hit them for 2. So now he's down there, and then I would get myself back up for 1, but I'm perfectly fine. And now I'm just going to continue to do stuff like this until we have a victor. Now, it may seem easy, but then you start to add certain wrinkles into this right here. So maybe I want to do, I'm just going to somehow do this. I think I'm going to do that one here. So then what I would do is I would drop this. Okay, I'm just going to 1, 2, 3. I could double that to 4 and 1 health, 4 and 2 health as well. I can double this. If I was here and I just doubled this, I could do 2 hearts or 2 refreshing of cards. But there's a lot of different wrinkles to it. And if I were to ever get to a point where, let's say I had to drop this off as my last one, if I were to drop this off normally as one of my last ones, I can do one of these actions here. But if I were to drop my doubler as my last one there, I get to take another turn. So it's one of those like little tricks to use on there. The doubler can even get stuck on somebody else's side. So you really have to watch this, because eventually what could happen, and I'm just gonna do what I want to do. Fake scenarios galore right here. You ready? I can eventually end up where, if I'm not paying attention, I may have too many of my pieces on someone else's side, and they may take their sweet time letting me get back to my pieces. So as a pink player now, I'm a little stretched out over here. I don't have as many of my pieces. Maybe I have to do something with my card abilities over here to make sure I start kind of getting them going. Maybe I want to go chase some commoners because, or I may want to slash some of my cards using some of these tokens here. So I may be able to get some more shards in play with a dandelion or something like that. But I have to be a lot smarter, and that's where the Madcala, not the Mancala part comes in here, because you do get kind of pulled away from what you're doing, and now you're kind of stuck, and you may feel like, man, I'm stalling out, and that is where the abilities come in. So I hope that gives you an idea of what Madcala can become. It is a game of wit. It is a game of smarts. It's a game of thinking on the fly, and also just leaning into a theme. Which, if you like, Alice in Wonderland, you like the Mad Hatter, you like all that kind of stuff, this may be your ticket. This is the type of game I'm sure you'd enjoy. Since I'm a Mancala fan, this is the type of game, of course, that I would probably lean into, definitely liking. But of course, this is a paid preview, so of course I'm just kind of telling you, hey man, I like the game, that's why it's here. Okay. Other than that, this is how this game works. You are just basically picking up pieces and moving them around and dropping them off and taking the action where it lands. If you got a doubler, you get to double up on that action. You have your different abilities, which you'll flip over after you pay for them and flip them over. If you get a refresh action, you can refresh them back. Red Queen is really interesting because she does stack up on these commoner cards, and then she uses them. She uses them as like a kind of a currency to take and do a different attacks. I've lost to her a couple times, so I at least have an idea of how she goes. But I used Alice. Alice is a really fun character to play, kind of straightforward character. So they all have these different levels of difficulty and strategy baked in there, so you get an idea of what's going on. All right, party people, what do you think about this game? Let me know how you feel about it in the comments below. It is a simple game on the surface. Familiar, right? But it's definitely got its layers of strategy, and each character is where I think the fun will be found for you if you decide to back this game, because of course I can never tell you what to do with your money. That's not what I do here. Hopefully I gave you a good overview of the game. Thank you to Druid City Games for sponsoring this video, and with that, party people, thank you for your time. You have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me on MVM. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Take care.